My husband almost killed me. Listen to your mom gut, because it's always right. Waited for that moment, my daughter could have died. And the only thing I can remember is like me laying right there, like just like this, looking at my husband. I was shaking. I was pale. My husband was just like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you fine?" And I'm just like, just staring at him. And as soon as I hear the baby cry, I just start crying. And I'm like, I was able to breathe. And I just look at him and I'm like, go with her.
Welcome to the Awakened Mama podcast. Maria, you are a certified pediatric sleep consultant and motherhood coach, founder of Mindful Mother, and you help exhausted mums get their babies to sleep and find balance in motherhood through a personalized coaching and support. So let's dive in. Now, let's start with the reasons that can affect sleep, because for mums who whether it's their first time or not, because babies are all different and just like us. And so sleep can be different from one baby to the next. So if you want to get into the reasons that can affect babies' sleep, let's start there.
Ooh, that's a good one. There are a bunch of things that can definitely affect the baby's sleep. If we're talking about, for example, newborns, we have the witch hour, we have the colic, we have the reflux, and all of these things tend to happen around newborn stage because they're like inside the throat is still not fully like developed yet. So, if you don't burp them right, everything comes back up in case you have ever had gastritis or reflux. That's exactly what happens to the babies. If they're hungry, for example, if they're starting solid foods, if they're hitting milestones, that's a big one because that tends to cause a lot of sleep regressions. And so if they're, flipping over, if they're learning how to talk, how to sit up, how to pull themselves up, or even just blah, 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 you will probably hear that in the middle of the night because even making cute little sounds is very exciting to them. So these reasons can be huge. If they're overtired, that's another big one. So if you're putting the baby to sleep too late, can cause it. If they're overstimulated, can cause a lot of sleep issues. If they're not having enough sleep during the day, or if they're having too much sleep during the day, it can be stealing from the night sleep. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of different reasons why babies are not sleeping during the night.
I remember witching hour when I first come into motherhood. I didn't know it was a thing. Can we just have like a motherhood book that tells you what to expect? That you're going to get lack of sleep and that witching hour is for real. Like, you just don't understand until you're in the thick of it that, yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah, and a lot of times it gets confused with colic because a lot of people, they tell me, "Oh, well, the doctor told me it's a colic." I'm like, "Okay, but the colic doesn't pick the exact hour every single night. The colic, if you have your period, you get your cramps different times of the day. It's very similar to the colic, like." So witching hour usually tends, for those that don't know, does tend to start in the most awkward times of the night that the baby just doesn't stop crying. And I have had a client that her newborn was just not having it, and she just didn't know what else to do because the baby ate. She was like, she burped, she did everything that she needed it, and still nothing. And I'm like, have you tried swaddling? She's like, my baby doesn't like swaddles. I'm like, try swaddling. And then just do try the 5 S's and just really loud. And she was like, oh my God, I didn't know. Like, she was like, it worked. In less than 5 minutes. She was like, oh my God, it worked. And I'm like, yeah, of course, that swaddling and making them feel them like they're safe. That's a little tip that can help out.
Yeah, well, they've just been in your womb in this cozy, comfy, quiet with white noise around them. And it makes sense that your baby's going to find comfort in that.
Yeah. What's also very beneficial, massages.
Yeah, my twins love them.
I know that there's an app that they do kind of like a story time, like very soothing story time while you're massaging them and giving them, because you might think it's like, oh, a kid, why would they need a massage? And mine, like as soon as I start massaging her, she's like, oh, just keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I'm like, that's crazy that I would have never thought that a 4-year-old would have been like, can you massage here? What?
I love
That's
that
wild.
because I do the same. Like nighttime really is dependent on what they need at that time. and I've used massages too. But I've also used that during the day where I say one of them is being a bit rough. And so I will say, that's not a loving way to touch your brother or sister. And, let me show you how you can touch your brother and sister with love, because in this family we love. And so then we massage, and we massage the back or the legs, and just
That's
we show them
awesome.
loving touch, and that's an acceptable way to touch a family.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
hitting or
Yeah.
pushing is not.
Now the other day I was like, I'm told this. I was like, oh, do you wanna give Jana, which is my youngest, do you wanna give her a hug? And she's like, okay. She goes running to the little one, and you see my little one like, and then she like pushes her, kind of like, get off me. Like, what is this? And it was the funniest interaction ever, because my little one, she does have a sensory, like, she's very sensory sensitive.
This was an
Ever
overload.
since yeah, for her it was kind of like, oh, but the funny thing is she doesn't get off me. So I'm here like, okay, so clearly it's selective of who is the one and the where, because like, I hug her and she's like, oh, she's kind of like, oh, what is this? But it's an amazing, like, these are tools depending on your kid's personality, right? And that goes very well with the routines, and also, in case you do decide to do some type of sleep training, what type of sleep method works for your little ones and yourself, because it all depends on the dynamic of the household and the personalities of the little ones, because there's some little ones that you can put them in the crib and they're totally fine, and then there's some that, you can pick up and like soothe them and then put them back to sleep and they're perfectly fine. But there's some that you pick them up and they get even more furious the fact that you even touched them again. And so it all depends on personalities and, what happened through the day as well. And it's so much pressure. It's so much pressure on us, like, and they tell you, you have to do this, and oh, don't do this, or if you do this, you're gonna be a bad mom, or whatever it is. And the mom guilt is real. Mom shaming is also real. And
It's another thing you don't expect too, the mum guilt. You don't expect that. There's so much that you don't expect.
Oh my God. And, my grandma actually, at 97 with Alzheimer's, she was still dealing with motherhood guilt, like mom guilt. And that is when I realized it doesn't really go away, because at the end of the day, your child can be, correct me if I'm wrong, because I do not have older kids, but there's things that they might do or say, and you're like, like, maybe I should have said this, or maybe I shouldn't have said that. Or I know that there's sometimes that my mom says something to me, and then later on she's like, I'm sorry that I said that. And clearly that was mom guilt that later on passed through her mind, of kind of like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have never interfered, or whatever it is, And that, mom guilt at the end of the day is an okay feeling. And you need to understand that that's what makes you a good mom, because at the end of the day, you're caring for your kids, right?
I think that when you have more experience as a mum, not just that, for me, it was all of the personal growth that I did that allowed me the acceptance to apologize for anything that I did that I didn't know better. And that helped me be able to move on from not knowing any better with children's health and why my children have diagnoses, just as an example. And just the real conversations, the guilt becomes less, because you just release yourself from it. There's nothing that you can do to change anything. And they're adults now, like my older two. Although if I could go back and change things, yeah, of course I would, but I can't. So there's no point in holding on to any guilt. And now it's just my job to ensure that they're supported when they're needed. And just those things, it just helps. Like, I don't feel the mum guilt like I used to. Especially like, God, you'd feel like if you left the house to do something without your baby, obviously someone's looking after them, like sleepy baby at home, and you just have this incredible guilt, whether it's something as simple as grocery shopping. You're not even doing something for yourself that's like, oh, I'm having some beautiful me time. I'm just getting the groceries done without the baby, and you've got this guilt attached. It's a lot easier to release that with the experience of motherhood and go, baby's okay. Like, baby's with dad, or baby's with grandma, or whatever. We're all good. But in the early days, the hormones are really depicting how you show up and feel.
And the amount
Yeah.
of pressure that you have, like whether it's in your household and then you top it off with the social media of, what is a good mom?
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. Like, and that is when, if you do get to that point of like, having this mom guilt that suffocates you, I think you should have like a detox when it comes to social media, because let me tell you, like it can play such a huge part on the postpartum depression, anxiety, rage, so on and so forth. And you're trying to heal, right? Your body goes from having a human inside of you to not having the human inside of you, and then knowing that they're outside and your hormones are all over the place. You're trying to get back to normal. Your brain is trying to like understand what's going on, and you're reprogramming your brain now, right? You're adding more information, and then your whole body is just trying to like, wait, this organ goes back into this place and this organ goes back to this place, like all of these things are going on in just matter of like, seconds and then minutes and then, so on and so forth. And postpartum is not 2 years. Most women don't know that it's actually 7 years.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I was shocked to find that out because
mhm,
even when I say postpartum to people, I kind of get this look of, your twins are nearly 3. Yeah, they are. So I'm still postpartum. And I was
yeah.
postpartum. I breastfed for 2.5 years and entered perimenopause. So yeah, I was still dealing with postpartum with my
Yeah.
hormones. I entered
Hmm.
perimenopause, and so I was like, what is going on? Am I
Hmm.
just postpartum, or am I in perimenopause? Because I'm in my 40s. Obviously, being the health nut that I am, I did the thorough testing and perimenopause.
There's a lot of things they're adding onto your plate right then and there because yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've heard about that. And now, recently, I heard that the research is showing that premenopause is actually starting in the early 30s.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And I've been feeling very tired and things like that. And now I'm gonna see like a hormonal specialist, because I'm like, everybody's like, oh no, you're fine. And I'm like, there's something going on because I'm so exhausted all the time, and clearly nobody's hearing you. And that's another thing, man. Like if you're listening and you're a mom or a first time mom or you're pregnant or want to understand this, you're going to have a lot of individuals that are going to dismiss you. You're going to have a
Yes.
lot of people that are going to completely either contradict you, completely trying to interfere whatever is going on with you, your family, your kids, and you're going to be the only advocate for yourself and for your kids because nobody else is going to speak up for you. And at the beginning, my first pregnancy, I changed five different OBs. And my husband would like, okay, fine. Like, if you don't feel comfortable, okay. But at the end, he was like, man, that was a lot of changing. And I was like, I'm glad I changed, because the first one with a miscarriage, apparently, I shouldn't be asking what were my symptoms. And then the same week, I had a miscarriage. Well, there you go. Dismissed completely,
And
and
nutrition is such a big port for men too, because
mhm,
most of the percentage of miscarriages is actually coming from the man because he creates the placenta. So if you're sick, as try not to swear, so if you're very, very sick during your pregnancy, it's
mhm,
because he had all of the toxins, his nutrition wasn't right. So yeah, I absolutely
yeah,
use and recommend nutrition support that I know has all of these benefits. And I 100% believe that this is the work people should be doing
yeah,
prior if you're trying. If not, it's
yeah,
never too late,
yeah, yeah,
because it plays such an important role
yeah,
in, I mean,
hmm,
it's how I was able to help balance my hormones again, because once I was able to refocus on my health and go back to just concentrating on now what other supplements, magnesium was one that I added.
I need to add that one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And omegas is really helpful for your brain health when you're recovering postpartum, because our brain literally shrinks, it changes shape. And so we need
Yeah,
those omega fatty acids to go back in there to help our brain health recover. And look for plant-based. That's what I use and recommend to my clients is plant-based
yeah,
omegas. And
yeah.
it's just going to help with that brain fog and
Mm.
recovery. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
another.
That's very essential, especially the postpartum part is very essential to make sure that you're still taking your prenatals, because a lot of people don't tell you that. They don't tell you like, oh, you want to get pregnant? Maybe you should start taking your prenatals like 3 months beforehand. So that way, you can start, and I'm here like, okay, so that could have helped me. And here's another thing, going back to the dads, right? I had gestational diabetes with my actual rainbow baby, right? And I was so mad at my body, so upset. And I can tell you this much, like I still remember just sitting in the shower and just crying my eyes off, like, because thankfully I didn't have to use insulin, right? Because I was on diet based, right? And I was on a very strict diet and just making sure. And there was ones that, the nurse, I showed her the picture and she was like, yeah, you have to come in tomorrow and we might have to talk about insulin. And I was even more frustrated with my body because I'm like, I'm doing all of this and yet this is still happening to me. It's not like I gained weight, like I just went on this huge spiral. That recently I hear that gestational diabetes doesn't really, I mean, yes, depending on your diet and depending on what you're doing, but a lot of times it also depends on the dad's health. And my mother-in-law had a gestational diabetes in all of her 3 pregnancies. Nobody in my family has ever had nobody. Mind you, I have over 35 cousins. Like, we have a huge family and nobody has ever had gestational
They've been
diabetes.
busy.
Listen, my grandma had 11 kids and my dad's part was 5. Yeah, man, like, yeah. Like I said, my grandma lived up to like 97. And my other grandma's actually still alive. She's going to be 90. So yeah, we have a very, very large family. And yeah, nobody has diabetes. And then I get pregnant with my first, with my rainbow baby. And then I get gestational diabetes. And then when I hear that it's basically because of his health,
His
DNA was what's made the placenta, which made me have gestational diabetes, which now I have to make sure that I'm very healthy and making, very careful with, because after, I believe, 7 to 10 years after you had that baby, you can become automatically pre-diabetic or automatically have type 2 diabetes. And when I heard that, I was like, I'm sorry, what? How come nobody tells you this beforehand? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
like I said, we need a book of real talk, like the facts that we actually just need to know.
And nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody is either ashamed of it because, oh my God, you ate too much sugar. Most likely that's not even true. Most likely it's because something with the genetics of your husband or, of whoever is, the baby daddy or whatever is going on. But all of these things should be known. Or how about this? Before you get laser hair removal in your 20s and you get pregnant, there's a very likelihood that you're going to regrow all of that hair afterwards. So you literally just
time
wasted
and money.
No.
And you mentioned the prenatal vitamins. I just want to touch on that because I actually just shared a story because I know about this, but folic acid. Please. Folic acid is in all prenatals. Now, I mean, there are, I think, some that you can find that are good quality that don't have it because folate is what you want. Folic acid is man-made. And for people like me, if you have a MTHFR gene, then you should definitely not be having folic acid. So, it depends on your own genetics, your own DNA. So I just wanted to add that if you're pregnant, like I mentioned, do your research on anything that you do or that you take. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, like, we want to inform you and, we want to educate you. If it does start creating a lot of stress, because man, this is a lot of information. I know for one, like, at least with my first pregnancy, when people would tell me like, don't eat pasta, because of blah, 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 blah. And I would like literally want to blow. Like, don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me, like, it's totally normal. It's hormonal. I get it. Take one thing at a time. Take one step at a time. Do your research. If it gets too much, stop. Take a breather.
Can I ask why pasta? I've not even heard of that.
My mom has I love her. I love my mom. But yes, no, the American pasta.
No mom hate.
No mom hate. My mom did a phenomenal job, and she continues doing a phenomenal job. Right now, actually, my 2 girls are with her, so she's the only human.
Same. The twins are with mom out in her granny flat. Thanks, mom.
But she has a thing about pasta in her brain, and I'm like telling her, if it's actually real Italian homemade pasta, it's good for you. American pasta is not good for you because it has a bunch of things that shouldn't be in it. But yeah, she has this thing in her mind that apparently whatever.
I do all the testing, so I know that I can eat gluten and it's not a problem. But I also know that my genetics, my DNA, I just cannot have pesticides and herbicides. No, it should, but like my DNA just can't detoxify from it. So I'm putting it in there and it's just like sludging up in there. So, so I can't have that. So when people might get confused because you're like, sometimes I can eat bread and sometimes I can't, or pasta or whatever. And it's
It depends
it's
what's in
depending
it.
on the quality, because we eat organic sourdough, so you've got the goodness in there, but it's also because it's organic. We're not having the sprays and stuff in there. So I can eat that and feel fine. But as soon as I'm having some shitty bread from Woolies or whatever supermarket that is just loaded with crap, then I'm going to feel it. So it does absolutely make a difference of what your genetics can and can't tolerate. So,
And also your blood type. The other day I heard about it, and I need to read it. It's a whole book about like your blood type and what your blood type can actually, what actually you need and not, depending on your blood type. And I was like, wait, I shouldn't be eating that? Well, that makes a lot of sense why my stomach gets very upset. Like, it's not even like yeah, I don't even remember what it was, but I know that there's something that I eat that apparently is good for a lot of people, but it's not good for me because I'm O. And I'm like, and it makes a lot of sense.
for me and my husband, we're both A, and
Okay.
he will not eat raw tomatoes because A blood group shouldn't. Whereas it doesn't affect me. I do. I don't feel any difference in my body, and I love tomatoes. So we are both different approaches, but same. I don't feel it. I'm good. But yeah, I know that that's a thing that people work with their
Yeah.
own blood type.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I'm the only O in my like the only O in my family, and in my husband's family, I'm the only O. So I'm looking at everybody. I'm like, so I can save everybody's life.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm the only O here. So I start laughing because I'm like, that's crazy, and that's the reason why both of my babies were actually in the NICU for 5 days
Wow.
because they're A and I'm O, and that's another thing that I didn't know that can cause. And the second time around, I even got even more frustrated because they even had me do iron infusion, right? Maybe 3 or 4 like bags. And they told me, oh no, don't worry, this is gonna help prevent your little one to end up in the NICU. No. She still ended up the next day. They came in, sorry mom. She has jaundice and she has spherocytosis. Both of them got jaundice and spherocytosis because of the different blood types that of course like their little bodies were like, what's going on with between my blood type and theirs. They're like, attacking itself, and it was wild. The second time around I
That's
was more
crazy.
calm because I understood what was going on. The first time around, ladies, please make sure that if you send your partner to talk to the doctors, make sure that you are on the phone and on speaker because they usually tend to not know how to word things. My husband almost killed me because he was like, I don't know, the cancer blood doctor came and he was talking to me, and I was like, what? What are you talking about? The blood doctor, like, the cancer doctor? What are you? Oh my God, I was going insane because I had a C-section and I couldn't get up and I couldn't see the baby. They took the baby in less than 24 hours away from me because the one blue light was not enough for her. And then we're all wondering why I ended up with postpartum depression. And I'm like, I was during COVID. I was by myself. I didn't understand what was going on. My husband could not, obviously, with everything that was going on. Like, I understand. I honestly don't understand how in the world he didn't pass out on me those days, because it went from me because the gestational diabetes here, they have to induce you before you hit the 40 weeks. That was torturous, traumatic for me. Um, it was horrifying. It was horrible. And then I ended up either way having a C-section because the baby's heart will stop by every contraction. And listen to your mom gut, because it's always right. It's crazy. And I'm the one that picked the day of the induction. And I'm so thankful that I did pick it on February 15th, because if I would have waited longer and waited for my water to break or have contractions or have whatever, waited for that moment, my daughter could have died. because the cord was around her neck, and with every contraction, it will only get tighter. So it went from being us two with the doctor to having over 20 people in the room. And I'm shaking just thinking about this. Having over 20 people in the room in less than a minute, taking me while they're telling Dad, okay, take out your things. We're going to go to a different room, and not really telling him what's going on. They already opened me while my husband was already walking into the surgical room. So the only thing this man sees is halfway down, me already opened. So he's already traumatized, not knowing what's going on with his wife. By the way, since it was COVID, I had to wear the stupid mask, and I threw up 3 times because I would tell them anything above 800 ibuprofen, I end up throwing up. I can't take anything higher than that. Obviously, with the epidural, it's a higher dose, right? I ended up throwing up with all the pressure. Like literally, it was horrifying. And the only thing I can remember is like me laying right there, like just like this, looking at my husband. I was shaking. I was pale. My husband was just like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? You know, like, are you fine?" And I'm just like, just staring at him. And as soon as I hear the baby cry, I just start crying. And I'm like, oh, I was able to breathe. And I just look at him and I'm like, go with her. And that's the only thing I could tell him. I couldn't speak anything else. I could not say anything else because my blood pressure was just like low of everything that happened. And my husband didn't even want to go with the baby. He wanted to stay with me to make sure that I was okay. And we didn't know if it was going to be a boy or girl, by the way. It was a complete surprise for both of my pregnancies. When he was like, oh, it's a girl. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so exciting. But I couldn't even like express that because of everything that was going on. And the epidural doesn't work fully for a lot of women, and I didn't know that 20% of the women it doesn't work 100%, and I didn't know this information because I thought it was like, oh, whatever. Some women, works perfectly fine, has zero issues, go with the rest of their life perfectly fine. Some horrible stories. For me, I still was able to feel all the contractions. I was able to feel the doctor cut the belly, no pain, but I was able to feel it, right? And I was able to feel everything. And so I'm just there staring at my husband. I tell the doctor one more time, I'm like, I think I'm going to throw up. No, sweetheart, just take a deep breath. Once again, dismissing me because this is a different nurse. And ended up throwing up. So now he had to clean everything else because obviously I can't move. So, and then I looked at him. I was like, I told you, like, I don't understand why people don't listen when you're literally telling them I'm about to throw up, or there's women like I'm about to give birth and they're like, oh, but your contraction started like, I don't know, 3 minutes ago. And you're like, it's about to pop out. No, you're still not there yet,
Yeah, I had that exact experience where I was like, I need to push. And my labor was, it was an hour to the minute when I gave birth. And I shared this in my first episode, so I won't go into it. But yeah, I got dismissed when I said I need to push. And I think I know
wild.
My third pregnancy, my third birth, I'm pretty sure I know my body's telling me I need to push.
Yeah, that happened to one of my friends too. And and she went in, she's like, yeah, third pregnancy, like pushed, no epidural. I literally almost died. And they're here like, no, it's okay. Just go back home. She was like, I literally had to wait in front of she was like, the baby was coming out already by the time. It was too late for anything. And so it's just wild, Thankfully, my second pregnancy was none of the above. The iron thing was very frustrating because the doctor promised me that was not going to happen, and yet it still happened. But at the end of the day, I guess it was, for me at least, it was an easier recovery just because I didn't have to have the newborn with me all the time, and I was able to spend some quality time with the toddler. But even then was pretty heavy because you go from trusting a doctor like, oh no, that won't happen with the second one, and then it turns out it does because the baby has A and I am O.
Yeah. So there's lots of factors that come into our postpartum recovery, which obviously has an effect on our sleep and the baby's sleep. Pretty much everything can affect baby's sleep with your routines, your diet, little things like whether they like to be swaddled. And you mentioned that you have an individualized approach.
So I actually offer a free 15-minute consultation call because I would like to first, see where you are, right, in your journey. And if it's a very easy fix, like, hey, you're putting your baby, or your little one, putting them to sleep at 9, I will tell you right then and there, that's a huge issue. There should be going to sleep at latest 8:30, but anything before that, it's golden, right? And then after that, I email you, okay, these are the goals. This is what you want to do. This is what we're going to be working on. And I give them an intake form because I want to know where you are in your postpartum trip. I want to know where, what personality your little one has. And I also want to know what is your intake on the crying, and see what type of method you want to choose, because there's some moms that want a very, they need a very fast fix, and there's some that like, hey, I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm perfectly fine, I could take the 2 weeks for me to do a very gentle way. So that is something that I like to do to make sure that you get what you need.
Perfect. Do you want to give people your certifications in this field?
Okay, so I do have a master's degree in education. Then with everything that has gone with my little ones, I started understanding how important sleep is. So I got certified in sleep consultation and specialized in newborn, and infant, toddler, and also special needs. And I also am certified in life coaching, group coaching, and art therapeutical coaching, because I do know that the arts is very important, just to make sure that you realize that you just take a breather, because us moms tend to be on the go, 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 and we forget the breathing. So yeah, that's my certifications. I am constantly, you know, going to, to the conferences to make sure that I'm always up to date with the new research and any new methods or any new product that is actually safe for you and the baby, because I'm not going to sit here and sell you something that can possibly even remotely have a chance of affecting you or the baby.
Beautiful. That's so important, because there's so much information, but it's not necessarily correct. But there's a lot out there that can be overwhelming, and especially if you're coming into motherhood and you're trying to make the best decisions that you can, and obviously your hormones aren't as calm as they were before. So trying to make decisions, you've got all of this in your face. We have mentioned a lot of things that can affect sleep, and the real talk, what it is like coming into postpartum, because it's just not spoken about enough. Because like we mentioned, we have social media, so it's so easy to compare our day where we're like, oh my God, it's lunchtime, I'm still in my pajamas and the house is a mess, to someone else's, look at my flat stomach, I've just bounced back. And like, when you can remove yourself from the comparison and just sit in your love bubble and do your research, but you've got to take your mind away from what's distracting you of what other people's lifestyle is, because it's theirs, it's not yours. So yeah,
do an inner work, because your kids will know, like, your kids will teach you what triggers you. Your kids will teach you what patience is. Your little one will always teach you more than what you're teaching them at the end of the day, especially about yourself, right? And if you just, and I know it's hard because, and I get it, because like I have 2 little ones, I have 2 Australian Shepherds, I have a lot of things going on, I have a business, I have a lot of things, and there's sometimes that I need to even remind myself, and there's sometimes that I love tattoos, to like just write on my tattoo on my finger, like, breathe, because I forget to breathe. My ribs start hurting because I forget to, and I'm like, who forgets to breathe? This one right here. My ribs get swollen because I forgot to breathe. So now that I'm in this journey, and now I'm teaching, other moms, and I also have a program specifically for new moms that is to help you navigate all of these pressures, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like everybody's putting their input of what's good, what's not good, what's whatever, all of this. And it can be so overwhelming that it can lead to a lot of, not good things mentally. So I do give you like some intake and tools that it can help you kind of like digest the information that you're taking in. And in case you need a mom that is in PJs, especially all the way to half the day, you're more than welcome to go ahead and call and FaceTime me, because I will be more than happy to show you that a lot of us, especially if you have little ones, it's very, unless you have a 9-to-5 job, if you're at home, most likely you're going to be in PJs, or you have a very cold coffee waiting for you. And that's reality, and that's the beauty of motherhood. And a lot of us will tell you, like, a lot of moms that have kids that are over 7 will tell you, like, after they hit a certain age, you're going to start having the time to be able to wear your hair a certain way. And because at the end of the day, we all have different stories. We all go through similar things, different stories. But note that at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all moms. And in case you do need somebody to, like, hey, Maria, you know what? My house is a mess and I'm like driving wild. Be like, listen, girl, I have a pile right there of laundry. It's been sitting there for the past 3 days. But my girls have.
Real talk. So I have a pile of, it's not clothes, it's linen. It's actually like 3 loads full of linen in this big ass pile that I could give 2 shits about. No, I don't care. It's sitting there and it's clean.
Uh-huh.
Have I put it away? No, because I just don't care. I've got anything else I could, like, I'm like, let's go play outside in the sun. Let's just
and let's go grab a talk. Like, let's go, all of it. It's nice and clean and it's all folded.
Yeah, I'm about to do another load of towels. So what I'm going to do is add to it. But the beautiful thing is I'm going to take clean ones out of that clean pile and use those. So I have less to fold. And I also, in pajamas, sometimes I will say to the twins, do you want to get dressed, or do you want to wear your pajamas today? On the odd occasion, they'll just have pajama day. Or sometimes Maria will get dressed and Ocean say, Ocean, I want to wear pajamas. Okay, you can wear your pajamas. And then an hour later, he's ready to get changed. So, like, we're not stressed about pajamas and, like, being overly, we don't care. We don't care. But I also want to touch on, you mentioned breath work. Now, I love that you have that for women, the little toolbox, because breath work, I have mentioned in previous episodes, it's a feminine energy. We are spending so long of our day in masculine energies with all of the doing, like the washing that I'm not doing. It's a masculine energy. Not doing it. And like, it's important to me to have clean clothes. I'll have clean stuff, but the clean stuff will sit there. Anyway, but all of the doing that we're spending, like our 9 to 5s, our housework, even mothering, and unless you're taking that time to have mindful play where you'll go out and sit in nature and, let's smell the flowers. We make a conscious effort to do those because being is feminine. Now, my tip here, what I used for twins, because I know that I needed something that was going to give me time, because 2 newborns was, it was rough. I did breath work when I tandem breastfed, because am I going to catch a break? Otherwise, probably freaking not. I'm not going to get a whole lot of time to just sit there and focus on my breath, but I can while I'm holding the babies. So I would sit there with the babies on each boob, and I would just focus on my breath. And it became a beautiful bonding experience, because I'm nurturing my babies and I'm providing what they need, and we're connecting, and I'm also just being, and it was such a good time. So that's why I think I was able to continue my breastfeeding journey, because I produce a lot of milk, so I could.
You were very blessed.
Yeah. And now I have an obsessed nearly 3-year-old who's like, I love your boobs. And he will cuddle up to them and be like, my boobs. Anyway, that was such a bonding experience. And although that chapter closed 6 months ago, he still relates that to the bond that we created through those moments. And so, that's a tip that I have. Do you have a tip for mums that maybe in the thick of it all put you on the spot?
Once you start learning and you do the inner work, and correct me if I'm wrong, like when I started doing all of this inner work, I enjoy my girls more. I rest more. My girls sleep all night. Like my girls sleep 12 hours, and the little one sometimes even 13 hours. Like, that is how much she's a sleeper. I wish I could sleep that much. But, like, it is amazing what just 5 seconds of breathing, 10 seconds of breathing can change your whole day.
And like I said, I shared my sleep tips in another episode, but part of that was breathing. And you can do it with the kids, because the trick that I did, I mean, maybe not when they're a little baby, so this is for mamas with toddlers and upwards, is smell the flower, blow out the candle. And so when you smell the flower, you're teaching them, blow out the candle. They get it, and it becomes something that you can do together, and they can also regulate their own emotions. So work's so important, and you can either do it alone, you can do it together. You can always find those moments. So mums, you are not alone. Motherhood can feel so isolating. You're not alone. Other mums are going through the thick of it too. So stay with it. Reach out to people who you feel that you can relate to and get some support, be heard. There's always someone, and either it's someone who shows up online like us, who create these communities where we have this open discussions about these things. I never turn anyone away when they come to my inbox, and whether it's somebody who you are close friends with, whether it's your mum, whatever, talk to someone. What would be a message that you would like to share with other mums?
Oh my God, yes. That, I mean, to be honest with you, oh my God, that's so important, because it is true. You're not alone. And, find a tribe. Because, the day I was actually talking to my mom, and she was like, oh, I don't have time for friends. And I'm like, us as women, studies have shown us as women, we need other women in our life.
It's how we're designed.
And yeah, that's exactly how we're designed. Even us women, we need to stay together.
Well, I'm really curious to know what people's top takeaways were. So let us know below. Comment below and let us know if there's something that you're struggling with, that you need help with, or whether we've mentioned something that has kind of been like a light bulb that you're like, oh my God, that's something that I could implement. I would really love to open up a discussion so that other mums can feel like me too, because me too, like we shared openly our journeys, and it hasn't all been roses. We learn as we go through things. And so I think that you're not gonna know unless you've come up to that roadblock that this is what I need to learn. This is what do I do with this? So hopefully you stayed with us for that long. Thank you.
Mom brain, and here ADHD mom brain, so it's even like on ecstasy. So yeah. But it's okay.
Perimenopause here got me good. Oh dear.
That's the beauty of it. I'm gonna, the bad times will always bring good times, and the bad times will let you understand that, will give you this type of knowledge and this power later on in life that will help you help others that need help just like you did. So, we have, you and I have gotten through certain things in our life that I can tell you that this is why we do what we do and what we're doing right now. So I love this so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is why I have this platform, is because the mentoring and the growth, everything that I have been able to access has really changed the trajectory of my life. It has changed my parenting. It has changed how I show up as a lover, as a mother, everything. And so I love to be able to share this with everybody else. So if you are liking this content, please hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, because my whole channel is designed for not just mothers, but women who are on that journey. And as you'll see from my episodes, it is so like here, there, and everywhere, because I kind of like to wear all the hats. I like to know what toxins are going to be harmful. I like to know the feminine energies and leadership. There's just so many things that can play a part in how we show up in life. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.